many times this semester we'll be analyzing the products that you make by taking a proton NMR. So you need to submit your proton NMR sample, and it's really important to have the proper concentration to get a good spectrum. So I'm going to demonstrate how to both prepare a solid and liquid proton NMR sample. You'll receive an NMR tube from your TA, and the cap will be placed on the bottom, so that's the closed end, where we keep the cap for safekeeping until we introduce our sample. All right, and it's always best to place the NMR tube in either a beaker or Erlenmeyer so it doesn't roll off the desk and break. For a liquid sample, you want to take a pipette, and let's say I distilled this and obtained this nice clear product. You place the pipette in the liquid and grab a little bit of the liquid sample by capillary action and hold the finger over the top. You then want to place this directly into the NMR tube and release. So the solvent we're going to use for all of our samples in 2311 is deuterated chloroform. This deuterated chloroform is used by all the students in the section, and it's really important that it doesn't get contaminated with any of the samples. That would really interfere with the interpretation of results. So in each section, we're going to have a dedicated pipette that's just for the deuterated chloroform. So as to not introduce any of our sample or mix our sample and the deuterated chloroform, we use the two-pipette method to prepare our samples. That is, you can see I introduced my liquid sample with one pipette, and then I'm going to use the second pipette to pass the deuterated chloroform down through the top of that pipette so that it never touches my liquid. Now, getting the proper amount. It's really important that the level in the NMR tube is appropriate. And it takes about 1 to 1.5 mLs of sample. You can see you have to lift the second pipette, and sometimes what I do is hold it with my fingers like this, and I'm dissolving my liquid sample down into the NMR tube and bringing it to the proper level. So the way to determine that you have the right amount of sample in your NMR tube is twofold. One is you can use the 3-finger method, which is you hold your fingers up and 3 wide is the appropriate amount, all right? Or there are gauges in the laboratory that you can hold your NMR tube up to, and it shows the proper level of the liquid also. All right, so my sample's dissolved in the deuterated chloroform. I'm ready to place the cap on it. And now you want to assign a label to your NMR tube, since we use the automated sampler, so that your sample will be properly identified and associated with your TA. So you go to the NMR sign-up sheet for your section, pick the next available spot, and that would be, for example, spot number 3. So your sample would be the initials of your TA and number 3. You want to take the Sharpie that's provided, and I would write on the side near the top, okay, never at the bottom of the tube or on the cap, but on the side. For example, EC3 would be the name of my sample. So that's how you prepare a liquid NMR. And then it's placed with the other samples in your section. For a solid NMR, it's really important that you weigh the proper amount. So you have your solid, and you weigh it on the balance, and you want at least 20 milligrams of sample. And so here I've weighed out 20 milligrams of my sample that I want to make the submit the NMR tube with. All right, so in this method, with the solid, all right, We use the pipette for the deuterate chloroform and use a minimal amount to dissolve the sample. We then want to use a separate pipette to take up that whole sample and add it to the tube. Make sure you get all of it. All right, again, we don't have the 3-finger level here, so what we want to do is take off the pipette, use the pipette that's dedicated for the chloroform, that's never going to get contaminated because it's not going to be touching anything with the sample, and pass it down through the top of the pipette to get the appropriate level so that a good NMR will be obtained. Okay. Place the cap on. Again, write your sample name on the top, and you're ready to submit your NMR and get your results.